If I may have your attention, please. If I may have your attention, please. At this time, we're going to begin the funeral services here at the cemetery for Mrs. Sharon M Rubinstein. As we begin the service, I would ask if any of you has a cell phone or any other noise-making device, please turn them off at this time. Officiating the service today is Rabbi Stephen Foster, Rabbi Emeritus from his congregation in Colorado, who is also a family member. He's the brother-in-law of the deceased.
Joel, can you hear me? Can you hear Joel? I want to make sure that you can hear. That's okay. You'll let me know after the service? Yeah, but you won't want me to repeat it again. That's the problem. Esoinai el heharim. Me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yatein lamot raglecha al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha. Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka. V'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmor chami kol ra. Yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzeitcha v'oecha me'ata v'yad olam. In the 121st Psalm. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, our God and God of all generations. Thou who governest all things with infinite wisdom and mercy, and who guidest the destinies of all of humankind. As a parent have you loved us and showered your blessings upon us. Therefore we shall not murmur even when sorrow befalls us, but with humility and unfaltering trust we shall accept your decrees. In joy and in sorrow alike we praise your goodness and acknowledge your justice. We remember that we are but strangers upon earth. Like a shadow our life flees away. Help us, O God, so to walk in your sight, that when the few years of our earthly pilgrimage are ended, we may be ready to meet our end with tranquil mind. To thee we look for comfort and strength when one of our beloved is taken from us, and a link is broken in the chain of love which binds us together. Though we walk in the valley of the shadow of death, we shall fear no evil, for you are with us. Be praised, O eternal our God, in all your dispensations. Sanctified be your name now and forevermore. There is perhaps no piece of literature that is used more often at a moment like this than the words of the 23rd Psalm. And we would like to think that the reason we say it at moments like this is because it says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." And we think that that's the reason. But Rabbi Cohn, with your permission, I don't know if you had the same professor that I did, but I learned in rabbinical school. That was just a couple years ago. I learned in rabbinical school a long time ago that when King David wrote this psalm, he had something else in mind. And what he had in mind was that for mourners, he was saying to the mourners, when you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, don't get stuck in the valley. Walk through it. As difficult as it might be, and it is difficult. These are hard moments. But when you walk through that valley, it will help you in the long term, not only to grieve, but also to come out of that valley, walking through it at another time, and understanding what these days, weeks, and months are going to be about. So I'm going to read it in Hebrew, and those of you who want to join in Hebrew is fine. And then I'll read it in English, and if you know parts of it and you want to join with me, please feel free to do so. Adonai roi lo echsor binot deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yishovev yanchini b'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit samavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yanachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sororai. Dishanta v'shem en roshi kosi ravaya. Ach tov v'chesed. Yirdafuni kol yamei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai la'orech yamim. For the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Poet has written, birth is the beginning. And death the destination. But life itself is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and from youth to age, from innocence to awareness and from ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or from strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, and from fear to faith. From defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death is a destination. But life itself is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made from birth to death, to life that is everlasting. Beloved family, of which I am a part, and this is a hard time. If I have a few tears, I hope I get them in the middle, in the beginning, not in the middle. Just end here. For you as family, and for you, many of you who are Sharon's friends, I want to tell you that I'm touched by how many of you are here. In Denver, we have a funeral, and Denver's not the size of Chicago. So many people will come to a funeral in Denver, whether it's graveside or in a synagogue. But in Chicago, I mean, south to north. Yeah, but then I can't see. It's all right. South to north, east to west. This is a huge community. And that so many of you are here is a tribute not just to the family, but to the relationships that you all had with Sharon. Because most of you are here as friends. Most of you are here, yes, to remember. We're all here, and sadly we're here, because we understand that there are joys and there are sorrows in life. This moment is really a bittersweet moment. Bitter because death has come. We don't want to lose our loved ones, no matter how old they might be. And Sharon, for herself, is not old. I know we just read that poem, birth is the beginning and death is I understand that. But 83 years, Sharon was a liver. She wasn't one who wanted to plan for a moment like this. That's what made it so difficult for her kids. But this is a bittersweet moment. Bitter because she's gone, and sweet because, and those of you who have been with her these last days and weeks, you know how difficult this has been. At least the pain, whatever pain there was, has finally come to an end. And there can be relief for those of you who care, those of you who love, children, brother, sister, beloved grandchildren, and you, her many friends, and cousins, and all kinds of people who came from out of town. For you, you can be grateful that that end has finally come. And we're here because our task is to rob death of its ultimate victory. Not just to come here and shake hands with a family, as you'll do later, tonight or tomorrow night, whatever. It's not enough. We're here for another reason. I really do believe this, by the way. I think we're here to be changed ourselves by the goodness in those that have gone before us. Our task is not just to come here and offer condolences, although that's terribly important to do. Our task is to learn from her life, to learn from the strengths, and there were so many. Did Sharon have any weaknesses? Oh, please, Joyce. Of course, you guys used to fight from time to time when you were kids. She was not a perfect human being. But she had so many strengths, which we'll talk about in a few moments. That's what we're here to remember. We're here to take them seriously. And so while the mourners are here, we're all mourners in so many ways. It's not just if we have a Kriya button that we become mourners. We all mourn. And there are tears in all of our eyes because we have lost somebody special in our lives. And it's important that we remember that. We are also reminded of the fact that there are tasks. I say this all the time to families. If the task of everybody else here is to remember her and to learn something from her strengths, I think there are at least 4 tasks for you as family. At least 4. You can maybe think of others. First is to grieve. You have to grieve for your loss. And it's not just now. And it's not just this moment, and it's not just a moment when we place Basar Vadam into the earth. It takes a long time to grieve from somebody that you love. Don't be afraid of that grief. As you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, that's what it means. Second task for you as family, and I think for all of us as we think about it, is to understand this meaning, the meaning of this moment, in the following way. People ask me all the time, Rabbi, what's going to happen when I die? And I always have two answers. First, I don't know because I've not been there. Thank you. And number two, I am not anxious to find out. And now that sounds like a joke, and it is to some extent. It's important for us to think about what it is that we believe. And if there are 75 of us here or more, the truth is we may all believe something different. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm Jewish and I believe this. Within the spectrum of Jewish life, there are many, many beliefs. And within the spectrum of Christian life, Muslim life, Hindu life, atheist life, there are many ways of thinking about what happens to us. But the task for us is to think about what it is that we believe personally and live by that belief. Now, I know what Sharon believed, because she and I talked about this a few times. And she believed that there probably, she wasn't willing to give it 100%, probably there's something else. And she wants to make sure she got there. She lived by that rule. And I think that is part of why she was who she was. For others, there may be a sense that there is nothing beyond this world and it's just what we do here. Live by that. Make the world a better place, as she tried to do and did. Make the world a better place, whether there is or there isn't, and whatever that means. Make the world a better place. Third task for all of us is to remember her. As we're here, each of you has a different thought, a different memory, something that you are recalling that you did with her, about her, for her, she did for you. There's always something that each of us thinks about. It's important to remember those moments. And the last task, and I especially lay this onto all the grandchildren and their generation. Not enough to remember. You also have to try to emulate who she was. Because there is so much about her life that is worth preserving, worth sharing, worth giving to the next generation. And that's very, very important for all of us. Poet wrote the following, and I think it's so true for this family. Death is sweet when it comes in its time and in its place, when it is part of the order of things. For a mother, death is only half a death. Each life in turn bursts like a pod and sends forth its seed. When a mother dies, for a second time the umbilical cord is cut. For a second time the knot is loosened, the knot that one bound one generation to another. And now the mother lies broken, but at rest, a vein from which the gold has been extracted. I think the poet understands this moment. The gold has been extracted. Children, grandchildren, friends, people who cared about her, people who were a part of her life. That was the gold of her life. For a beloved husband of Nearly 58 years. Oh, 58 years, almost 59. I've known him that long, 58 years. That's what this day is about. The gold has been extracted, and now the vein lies broken but at rest. And you as family, each of you will find the strength, the courage, not only to remember who she was, but you'll also remember what of hers you will take and pass on to the next generation. Most important when we come to moments like this is to understand this is not about a biography. It's not about what she did. It is about who she was. And I believe the older I get, that people are what they are, and that's what forces them to do what they do. So when you start to think about Sharon's friendships, when you start to think about the legacy she's left behind, that's who she was. It wasn't spritzing perfume. Although it was, she did that and made the world around her a prettier smell. Of course, we all know that. But she did that because of the person she was. She did that because she wanted to have connections with people. Sharon was a person of great loyalty. And who were the persons in this group that she was most loyal to? Joel, of course. He has no faults either. And Sharon would have told you that. She was loyal to Joel to the end of her life. She passed away right next to where he sits. She was loyal to her children and her children in love, those whom you brought into this relationship. And of course, her grandchildren. That was number one for her. Each one knows that at the end of any phone call, I love you. Her signature end of a phone call. And it's not just, oh yeah, that's true. It's what we remember. And as I was watching the family last night, when they said goodbye to everybody, I love you. I love you. I love you. A beloved sister and brother, long before, I don't want to say that Joyce talked to Sharon every day. I do say, though, she talked to her at least twice a day once cell phones made it possible. Because if she called long distance, I'd be on her case. But she and Sharon talked every day. And Jack, her brother, the baby brother in the family. These are the people who meant the most to her and that she was most loyal to. If Joyce and I would have a spat in front of Sharon, she didn't say to Joyce, you know, he's sometimes right. Never. Never. It was also to me, you know, she's right. It's the way it is. My kids have learned from Aunt Sharon. That's the truth. She lived all these years. Life was important to her, in spite of the physical problems that plagued her life. She survived cancer many times. And I suppose, maybe not, that's what got her in the end. But she lived through even the most difficult chemotherapies. She lived through it because she wanted to be with this family. She had unconditional love, not just for the family, but I dare say for all of you. She knew all of you. She loved all of you. I want to tell you a little story. You know, Sharon was the great connector. She really was. She connected people all along. A few years ago, we went on a cruise for Passover. And Joyce invited Sharon and Joel to come with us. They came with us. And the lady that she met a lady while we were setting up for Seder. She met this lady. And they've been good friends ever since. She said, I met Sharon at that Seder, and I know she was there with Rabbi Foster and his wife, whoever they were. Sharon made the connection to a friend who was there, and they remained friends throughout the last years of her life. But that's always the way she was. Many of you have been on Facebook with her all these years. Many of you have been friends for a long, long time. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to have those friendships, because that's what she wanted to have. She was a connector. Joyce said she was like a magnet, because people were drawn to her. And she was unconditionally loving, especially to these great, wonderful grandchildren. She loved them all, not the same, but they were unique to her. And she did with them what she wanted to do because of what they wanted. She was a great Jewish geographer, or a Hindu geographer, or a Christian geographer, or a Denver geographer. She found out something about a person, and she honed in until there was a connection. And that's who she was. She was a person who lived her values. Not everybody agreed with what she thought, but she lived her values and was not afraid to express them. She was a matchmaker. And some of you who are here may have been part of a match that she tried to make. She inspired others to be better at what they were doing, and maybe even to find something else to do, some other way of serving the communities that are a part of us. She wanted everybody to feel good about themselves. Marla said she'd call me every morning. How is my beautiful Marla? You weren't alone. How is my beautiful Joyce? How is my handsome brother Jack? How are my beautiful grandchildren? Each one individually. Because she wanted to lift them up. That's who she was. She wanted to be involved in everyone's life. She wanted people to feel special. And she was truthful even when everybody didn't agree with her or didn't accept what she believed. She loved to look good, born out of her love for fashion, not vanity. I don't believe it's vanity at all when people say, is my hair all? Well, I have to do that because Joyce is my hair all right? I believe it's not about us as individuals. It's about trying to present ourselves to others, and that's what Sharon always wanted to do. She was unselfish and giving. She helped people fill in their worlds and helped give direction to their lives because she listened to what people had to say. It's interesting that yesterday when we talked, every one of the grandchildren said they saw their granny as the person to go to share, to seek advice. She was the one that they all wanted to talk with. She was the extrovert of extroverts. And she was loving and caring. And yeah, she was the perfume lady. Because the truth is that did bring people to her. And so we're here at this very, very sad time. And while I've talked about some of the characteristics, part of the legacy that she's left behind, each of you has another way of remembering her. And they're all good. And they're all correct. Sometimes they'll bring tears and sometimes they'll bring smiles. Because that is who she was as a human being. And so to you, her friends, the loyalty that she had towards you, you all know that. I'm not telling you something you don't know. she was a loyal friend. For the greater family, she was devoted. She cared. That's why there's so many people from out of town that came in. It's not because they're going to get a part of her estate. Believe me, we all know that. And she knew that. We're here because we loved her. Wherever we came from, whether it's California or Wisconsin or Colorado, it doesn't matter. We're all here because we care. And to you, her grandchildren, this is a time not just to remember, but as I said earlier, to take what it is that her legacy is in your own minds. Pass it on to the next generation that's not yet born. Keep her alive. Keep her memory alive, because that's how we keep and give people immortality. To you, Joyce and Jack, siblings, this is a tough time. And we only hope and pray that you will find strength in all of those wonderful memories that you have from your childhood. Whether it's seeing your dad eat a BLT sandwich. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. Whatever it is, those are wonderful memories to have. Don't tell mom. It's okay. Those are the memories that you guys have and you shared. To you, her children, and children in love. These years have been mostly good. Yes, I know sometimes it's not always as good as we would like it, but that's the way life is. But you're all here, and your kids are here, and your love is here, and we feel that. And to you, Joel, we know that these last 58 years have been filled with so many joys, so many blessings. You said to me yesterday, yeah, we would fight and make up and get back to normal. Whatever that normal was. It's true. That was their life. And they shared it with all of you. And so, dear friends, at this time, I want to share one brief poem with you that I believe is sometimes very helpful. The poet wrote, "When I die, if you need to weep, cry for someone walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around others and give them what you need to give me. You can love me most by sharing your joys and multiplying your good deeds. You can love me most by letting me live in your eyes and not in your mind. And when you say Kaddish for me, remember what our tradition teaches. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." It is in that spirit that we resolve to face our grief without self-pity, but with bravery and integrity, keeping before us forever the blessings that God conferred upon us in this life that he but lent to us for these decades too few. And in a world where our most precious goods are perishable, let us resolve to honor our beloved dead by being so good to the living, so kindly, so understanding, so forgiving, so transcendent of pettiness, that in our love for her we shall hearken to those who remain and who need us and our strength. May it be through new relationships and new service to humanity that we make good our loss, and in the beauty of our own lives erect the noblest monument to our mourned dead. And thus the beauty of her life shall ever abide among us all as a living and loving benediction. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach. Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach me'ata v'ad olam. God has given. God has taken away. Praise be the name of God, now and forevermore. And let us all say together, In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the blueness of the sky and in the heat of the summer, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we will remember her. When we have achievements based on hers, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live. For she now is a part of us, and we will remember her. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar etchem b'tzalmo v'zanchil kel etchem b'tuvo, v'hemit etchem b'din v'natah b'tochechem chayei olam. Baruch atah Adonai, Dayan ha'emet. We praise you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who forms us in the divine image, who nourishes and sustains us in your goodness, causing all of us to die, and planting immortal life within us. We praise you, O God, the judge of truth. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai rav le'oshia mechalkel chayim b'chesed mechayei hakol b'rachamim rabim. Eternal is your might, O God, all life is your gift. Great is your power to save. With love you sustain the living, with great compassion you give life to all. You send help to the falling and healing to the sick. You bring freedom to the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. We praise you, O God, who implants eternal life within us.
You don't get to put any dirt in the movie. Before you put it in. Oh, but then put the research.
Dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. It is only the house of the Spirit which we have laid within the bosom of the earth. But the Spirit itself cannot die. For here too our dear ones continue in the loving remembrance of those to whom they were precious. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of our beloved Sharon Rubinstein, who you have grant her that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor mind has compassed it, still it is our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion, now and forevermore. So I would ask you now, dear family and friends who are seated, who are able to stand, I would ask you to rise, that we might recite together the words that have been hallowed by centuries of faith, the words that have been glorified in our tradition, the words of the Kaddish prayer, which I think are on the back of the, or inside the folder. Okay? He doesn't have to stand. I don't, let him stay seated. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shnei rabbah, Yalma divrach hirutei, V'yamlich malchutei, Chayechon v'yomechon, V'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, V'agalau v'zman kari v'yimeru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach, Le'olam u'le'ol me'ol maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, Shemei dekutsha barichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, v'amiran bi'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya, v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. O se shalom bimrama, hu ya se shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. El male rachamim shochen bamromim, hamatzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei ha-shechina, im kadoshim utahorim kazohar harakia mazirin, et nishmat sima masha bat zev v'peshka, shehalachcha l'olama, bal harachamim, yasti reha beseter kinofav leolamim, vayitzror betzror hachaim et nishmata, Adonai hu nechalata v'tanuach b'shalom, al mishkava v'nomar, amen. O God, full of compassion, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence unto Sharon Rubinstein, who has entered into eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou her possession, and may her repose ever be peace. The departed whom we now remember has been called unto the peace of life eternal. She shall still live on earth in the acts of goodness she has performed, and in the hearts of those who will ever cherish her memory. We pray that the beauty of her life will ever abide among us all as a living and loving benediction. And may the source of peace send peace unto all you who mourn. And may God comfort all the bereaved among us, among Israel, among all the nations and the families of earth. And let us all say together, Amen.
Two very quick announcements before the service is concluded. I want to thank those of you that attended today and also thank those of you that are online. The family will be receiving calls of condolence and sitting Shiva at Truly today until 5:30. It's 1815 Norwood Court in Evanston. That information's on the inside portion.
Parking is, if they can't find parking on the street or something like that, the front desk will direct them to the church or to the.
Okay. If you have an issue finding parking, they'll help you at the front desk. There's parking on the street, there's spaces, and apparently there's available parking at the church. But check in at the front desk if you go to the residence, please. Also, very quickly, the family has asked that memorial contributions be made to Rush University Medical Center. That information's on here as well. For those of you watching online, that is on the website that you're on right now. So this formally concludes the service here at the cemetery. We will now begin the interment process. We'll begin with the immediate family, and then we'll invite all others that wish to participate to step forward and participate in the burial. Participating in the burial of a loved one is one of the highest of mitzvot in Judaism because it's an act that you can never be thanked for and you can never be repaid for. We'll begin with the immediate family. Anyone else that wishes will follow. The typical way to participate is to place 3 measures or 3 shovels of the earth into the grave and then place the measure or shovel back into the mound. Do not pass it from person to person. If you do not wish to participate, there is no insult. You do not have to participate. If you do participate, please watch your step at all times around the open grave. Thank you.